On Christmas Eve, 1945, in the quiet town of Fayetteville, West Virginia, the Sodder family went to bed as usual. But what happened that night would leave behind one of the most baffling mysteries in American history: a devastating fire, 5 missing children, a case with no bones, no remains, and no clear answers. Was it an accident, a case of arson, or were the children taken? George and Jenny Sodder were proud Italian immigrants who had built a good life in West Virginia. They had come to America with dreams of prosperity and a better future for their children. George worked hard as a truck driver while Jenny took care of their bustling household. Together, they had 10 children, living comfortably in a 2-story timber home. The house was always filled with laughter, the sounds of children playing, and the warmth of family love. It was a place where memories were made, and the Sodders cherished every moment. On that Christmas Eve, like families across the country, they were celebrating. The house was adorned with festive decorations, and the aroma of holiday treats filled the air. The children were excited, their faces glowing with the joy of the season. 5 of the children, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny and Betty, asked if they could stay up late to play with their new toys. The living room was a scene of pure happiness, with wrapping paper strewn about, and the children engrossed in their new treasures. Their mother, Jenny, agreed, as long as they remembered to turn off the lights and lock the door before heading to bed. She trusted them to be responsible, knowing how much this night meant to them. It was a small gesture of independence for the children, a sign of their growing maturity. That was the last time she would ever see them again. The night took a tragic turn, and the joy of Christmas Eve was replaced with unimaginable sorrow. The events that followed would haunt the Sodder family forever, leaving them with unanswered questions and a void that could never be filled. At around 12:30 a.m., the Sodders were fast asleep. Then, suddenly, a strange sound echoed through the quiet night. Jenny Sodder awoke to what she later described as something hitting the roof, followed by a rolling noise. It was an unusual sound, one that she had never heard before. She lay in bed for a moment, trying to make sense of it. Minutes later, she smelled smoke. Flames engulfed the house, spreading rapidly through the wooden structure. The fire was fierce and unrelenting, consuming everything in its path. George Sodder rushed to save his children, but something was terribly wrong. The smoke was thick, making it hard to see and breathe. He called out to his children, but there was no response. The phone line was cut. George tried to call for help, but the line was dead. Panic set in as he realized that they were completely isolated. The ladder, usually propped against the house, was missing. George had always kept it in the same spot, but now it was nowhere to be found. Without it, reaching the second floor was impossible. His trucks, which he planned to use to reach the second floor, mysteriously wouldn't start. Despite being in perfect working condition the day before, they now refused to turn over. It was as if an unseen hand was working against them. In just 45 minutes, the house collapsed into a pile of ashes. The once lively home was now a smouldering ruin, leaving the Sodder family in shock and despair. The fire had taken everything, and the mystery of what had happened that night would haunt them forever. Then came the reports. The news spread like wildfire, capturing the attention of the entire nation. People were glued to their radios and newspapers, eager for any updates on the mysterious case of the missing Sodder children. The story was on everyone's lips, from small-town diners to bustling city streets. It was a time when the nation was still reeling from the aftermath of World War II, and this mystery added another layer of intrigue and uncertainty to an already tumultuous period. Witnesses claimed they saw the children alive. These sightings were not just random. They came from credible sources who were convinced they had seen the missing children. Some described the children in detail, noting their clothing and physical features. These accounts added fuel to the fire, making the case even more perplexing. How could these children, presumed dead in a tragic fire, be seen miles away, seemingly unharmed? A woman working at a diner 40 miles away said she saw 5 children matching the Sodders' descriptions. She remembered them vividly, noting how they seemed out of place and unusually quiet. The woman couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, and her account was taken seriously by investigators. This sighting was one of the first major clues that suggested the children might still be alive. A hotel worker in Charleston, West Virginia reported seeing 2 men, a woman, and 5 children checking in just a day after the fire. The worker described the group as being in a hurry, almost as if they were trying to avoid drawing attention. This sighting added another layer of complexity to the case. If the children were indeed alive, who were the adults with them? And why were they traveling so soon after the fire? And then, years later, the family received a mysterious letter. This letter arrived out of the blue, reigniting the family's hope and despair. It was postmarked from a distant city, adding to the enigma. The letter was carefully preserved by the family, who saw it as a potential clue to the whereabouts of their missing children. Inside was a photograph of a young man with dark hair and deep-set eyes. The resemblance to one of the missing Sodder boys was uncanny. The family was both hopeful and heartbroken, as this photograph suggested that at least one of their children might still be alive, but it also raised more questions than it answered. On the back, the handwritten message read, "Louis Sodder, I love Brother Frankie, Ilil boys, and 90,132. This cryptic message added another layer of mystery. Who was Louis Sodder? Was this a code? The family was left to decipher the meaning, and the message became a focal point of their ongoing search for answers. Was this one of the missing Sodder children? The family was torn between hope and despair. They scrutinized the photograph, comparing it to old family photos, trying to find any definitive proof. The possibility that their child was alive but out of reach was both a comfort and a torment. And if so, who sent the letter? This question haunted the family. Was it a cruel prank or a genuine clue? The letter's origin remained a mystery, adding another layer of complexity to an already baffling case. The family reached out to authorities and private investigators, but no definitive answers were found. Theories surrounding the Sodder case ranged from kidnapping, conspiracy, and even mafia involvement. Each theory had its own set of supporters and detractors, and the case became a hotbed for speculation. People from all walks of life offered their own interpretations, making it one of the most talked about mysteries of the time. Theory 1. The children were kidnapped as revenge. This theory suggested that the children were taken as part of a vendetta against George Sodder. The family had made enemies over the years, and some believed that this was a calculated act of revenge. George Sodder was a vocal critic of Benito Mussolini, the Italian dictator. His outspoken views made him a target, and some believed that his political enemies might have orchestrated the kidnapping to silence him. This theory gained traction among those who knew George's passionate stance against Mussolini. Some believed the Italian mafia kidnapped the Sodder children in retaliation. The mafia had a strong presence in the area, and this theory suggested that they took the children to send a message. The idea of organized crime involvement added a sinister element to the case, making it even more chilling. Theory 2. The fire was a cover-up. This theory posited that the fire was deliberately set to hide evidence of the children's abduction. Some believed that the fire was a smokescreen, designed to make it appear as though the children had perished, while in reality, they were taken away. Some believed the fire was deliberately set to hide evidence of an abduction and that authorities helped cover it up. Theory 3. Government conspiracy. This theory suggested that the children were taken as part of a secret government program. Whether for witness protection or other unknown reasons, this idea added a layer of intrigue and paranoia to the case. One wild theory suggests that the Sodder children were taken into a secret government program, either as part of witness protection or for unknown reasons. This theory was the most far-fetched, but also the most intriguing. It suggested a level of government involvement that was both fascinating and terrifying. To this day, the case remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. The Sodder family's quest for answers continues to captivate the imagination of people around the world. The mystery of what happened to the Sodder children endures, a haunting reminder of how some questions may never be fully answered. The Sodder family never gave up searching. They spent decades putting up billboards, handing out flyers and following every lead, but they never found their children. Now, almost 80 years later, we're left with only questions. So, what do you think? Were the Sodder children taken? Was it a tragic accident or something far more sinister? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more unsolved mysteries.